So again, next steps, these are really what I feel as far as, taking it to the next level, get that data in, spread the word as much as possible, like Elliot said. And I'll get a sense from the carriers as far as what their tolerance is for a group like this. I already kind of sent out some feelers as far as what they're thinking, and then kind of follow up with you with what they come to the table with for me. As far as time frame, what we typically look at again is, let's say I have the census into me today, right, with a required number of employees that we talked about. I can then turn around within, say, 2 months or so, 2-3 months, and give you some options as far as what the insurance companies want to do. Because you got to give some time for them to get their proper people together, their underwriters. They're going to want to look at it from a national perspective as well, because usually things like this, when you say cooperative or pool for insurance companies, especially underwriters, they sometimes get the chills because they think of that anti-selection thing. But once we get all the major people that we need from each insurance company on board, then we can sit down with our underwriters and say what's the best approach. They can roll out, they have time to roll out plans and pricing options for you, and then we can kind of bring that to the table.
So what is that, 6 months?
I would say, yeah, if I had it in place today, I think you could be operational by August, September. You could probably do it a little bit before. A lot of times, again, it depends. We're pretty fluid with this kind of stuff since we move pretty quickly and we've done these a lot. A lot of times it's up to the organization. I know in working with Elliot, you guys have kind of been quicker than most, I would say. So it's probably a little bit faster than we typically see. So, yes.
You might not like this question.
I'm open to any question.
But based on, the group of people that we're going to gather here are typical people.
Right.
So based on all the groups that you already manage or have, what kind of range of rates are we talking about? Because, for instance, I'm a one-man show.
Right.
I used to be in a group. I hired my wife to be an employee of mine.
Right.
And I paid like $1,200 a month.
Right.
Then an agent told me, why do you have to go into a group? Be on your own.
Right.
You don't have any high-end stuff. And I'm paying half of it as an individual, and my wife is not an employee anymore. So in other words, is there any way to even figure out
What the rates are?
I talked, by the way, to a insurance agent, a health insurance agent, and about the meeting today, a friend of mine, and she said it's going to be extremely expensive. What is extremely expensive? In other words, based on the groups that you have and, average, kind of, what are we talking about?
Again, since every entity is kind of structured differently and some have their own plans, you're looking at, the plan is the biggest driver of that. If it's a $200 or $100 deductible type plan, since a lot of what we've talked about today are public employers where they do have traditionally rich plans, you're looking more at like a $500 per employee rate on some of their plans. You can start to get lower, get to the $300 range. For me to kind of throw a dart at it and say this is what it's going to be is difficult. I will say that your friend is right in some capacity that it's not going to make sense for every organization. I totally understand that. The only thing that I would say is it doesn't kind of hurt to at least see what the rating comes back as. The more we can get people to at least commit to the information, the more we can say here's what it looks like. Because you're right. Let's say I don't work for Gallagher and I kind of just own my own deal and everything, and I had a list. I could probably get health insurance for cheaper than I would if I was, part of a deal like this. But it doesn't. I don't want it to make the assumption that
until you have that bad year.
The cheapest, right? And that's the thing. And that's one of the risks that. That's one of the risks that you run, on more of the individual platform. And if it's cheaper for you, that's and you made that decision, that's great. I will say that one of the things that the group platform allows you to do is have some more protection there, right? So insurance companies can only rate you up so much every year if you're through a group. They certainly can't deny you coverage. You have more protection on the pre-existing conditions type issue, where as long as you don't have a gap in coverage for more than 63 days from your last group coverage, you're okay. So. There's pros and cons, and again, it's not going to be right for every group, but more and more information we get in, at least it's going to give you a better spot to say, you know what, this isn't right, or hey, it may make sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, if a group like this is able to, get a cooperation or some sort of grouping together, we're very much a mix. I mean, these are small business owners, so there's not industry, verticals on this. So if we are able to get something pulled together, and actually really amazed this hasn't been done before, because if we're trying to pull people together and we can do it in a group like this, why does Illinois not have a 2 million member group of small business owners, or nationally a 120 million member group?
Can I speak to that for starters? For the same reason, Nami, I cannot tell you the amount of people who said you just can't do this until we got into it and found out that you can. So we have 10 or so insurance companies that are members of the SBAC, and I like them all very much. Some of them are very good friends of mine. There's probably, is there an insurance person in the room right now? They're not 100% thrilled about us forming a plan, okay? Because it does in some way compete with the businesses that they're running, and I understand that. And certainly if it makes sense for somebody to be individually covered, I will refer them to people in the SBAC. So what we ran up against was if we were folks who gave up relatively easily, which is why it took us so long to even get to this point, we would have just said, well, forget it. We called 4 of our insurance folks, and they said you can't do it. What we did is we hired a lobbyist and an attorney. He's the same guy who analyzed the law and wrote us a long memo, which is free for anybody to see, that talked about the provisions in the insurance code, which absolutely allow affinity groups like this to come together and to pull together for insurance. So I think that is why it has not been done.
Well, I'm thinking there must be a little more to it, like the insurance companies don't want it or something, because look at small business owners across the country. What an amazing potential client pool.
COSI is a great organization to look at. They're in Ohio. They have 17,000 members. They are the Council of Small Business Entrepreneurs. They write their own health insurance. They write their own comp insurance. I have basically stolen their platform.
With permission.
With permission, they love it. I mean, they deal with Office Depot. We deal with Office. They deal with Office Max. We deal with Office Depot. Basically, we're following their blueprint on how to do it, and it's really just I couldn't believe it either. I mean, and that's what most people say. How come this hasn't been done? And what you'll find is chambers have tinkered with it, and then just sort of it's difficult to get everybody to turn in the censuses, and it's difficult to get guidance like we're getting from Arthur J. Gallagher. It's a lot easier to enter into the Office Depot program, where we say we got a lot of people and everybody gets discounts and they set it all up and we get rebated back as an organization. So I think that's one of the reasons why it hasn't been done.
Yeah, I'll just echo that in a sense that too. If you look at it from a national perspective, you get into even more challenges like I brought up before, right, with networks, right? So there's going to be a lot of organizations where they're out on the West Coast, and let's say Humana's one of the partners. Well, Humana in Seattle doesn't work, right? So it's tougher to spread this across a nation than it is on a state basis. And to Elliot's point, a lot of this is traction, right? It takes people that are within the organization really driving this process. It's honestly a lot of investment on our end too to get this kind of up and running. So. You're not going to, and then the insurance companies too, you're right. I mean, not every insurance company is going to be gung-ho about doing this because they get worried about some of that anti-selection type risk that's in there. So, it's a combination of different things. And, there are some associations, there are quite a few actually, less across, a wide variety of type of organizations, but within each organization, Illinois Manufacturers Association, those kind of entities, a lot of them have this kind of thing established.
Yeah, and just as I was, thinking about this in a few different ways, it's really a battle of the numbers in terms of when insurance companies want to talk to you and will actually give you workable rates and extra benefits and so forth. Small businesses have amazing numbers.
Right. I'm not going to lie, it's a challenge to get them on board. So.
I was just going to say, I have met Elliot, and that's about the extent of it through Lawyers Connecting. I really don't know Elliot. but when I first got emails about this, I was incredibly skeptical that it would ever go anywhere, but now I'm incredibly impressed at how he's put this together and proceeded with it and brought Arthur Gallagher into it. It's amazing, and it's obviously taken a lot of effort and analysis and diligence, and I think it's really commendable. This is the first of these meetings I've been